We need to find the best companies, agencies, groups, etc. to deliver on our ambition. So what we expect is collaboration. And that's the only thing we ask for. Just collaborate together and create those beautiful synergies between creativity and touchpoint orchestration.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Architects, the InfoSum podcast that spotlights the leaders in the media industry. I'm your host, Ben Cicchetti, and this week I had the opportunity to sit down with Olya Dyachuk, Global Media and Data Director at Heineken. Together, Olya and I discussed data collaboration, Heineken's DE&I campaigns, the evolving market, the role of agencies, AI, and much, much more. Before we jump into that conversation, this is a reminder to hit that subscribe button now to be alerted when new episodes of Identity Architects are available. But without any further delay, here's my chat with Olya. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by someone who I've seen speak at a number of events and who comes to us via a nomination from Lee Mabey at Dentsu-X, Olya Dyachuk, Global Media and Data Director at Heineken. Olya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ben. Very nice for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I'm super excited to learn more. But for anyone who doesn't know you, can you just give us a quick introduction to yourself? And if somehow there's someone out there who hasn't heard of Heineken, a quick introduction to Heineken as well.
Absolutely. So as Ben said, I'm leading media and data and also consumer martech at Heineken globally across our top global brands and 60 opcos. So I've been at Heineken for over 3 years now, started within UK OPCO, hence why Lee, who was leading the team in the UK that I worked with at Dentsu-X. And I moved a year ago to basically do the same work, but at the global scale. My background is actually very heavy agency. I've spent a very long time at Omnicom, to OMD, working across McDonald's, Bacardi, previously also in digital agencies, startups, bit of TV production. So I've done all of the random things and basically landed at a brilliant business. And Heineken is one of the most inspiring businesses for me personally. And it's inspiring because it truly pioneers, truly innovates. And probably everyone knows Heineken beer, but not everyone knows that apart from Heineken beer, we've got hundreds of brands in our portfolio. We are focusing globally on our core brands, which is Heineken, Birra Moretti is our premium portfolio, Desperados, Tiger, and Amstel. And then globally, we have a variety of local relevant brands. For example, Strongbow in the UK, Kingfisher in India, Tecate in Mexico, Dos Equis in the US. So we are brewing business, but we say that we are brewers and brand builders.
I love that. Again, I feel like everyone is probably familiar with Heineken or one of its brands. So we've got a lot to get into. We're definitely going to explore the agency relationship a little bit as well. So it's great to kind of with your background there. But we'll start the way we always do, which is with our quick fire questions to get to know you a little bit better. Starting with, what's your earliest memory of advertising?
Coca-Cola Christmas truck.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Classic.
Still one of my favorites. Christmas family. Holidays are coming. That's it.
Yeah, it's actually mine as well. So it's my earliest memory. In our household, it's not Christmas until we've seen that commercial on TV. It kind of rings in the festive period. So I love that. If you take yourself back to those days of seeing that commercial for the first time, then what did you want to be when you were younger, when you were growing up?
Definitely didn't think about advertising. I actually wanted to be an interpreter. I really like languages, and I used to pick up languages very quickly. And I traveled since I was 5 years old. And I always felt like I was fascinated by languages and the way how close they get you to the culture.
Yeah, I love that. And now you're interpreting data and you're interpreting other things and kind of sending those messages out as a communication.
I pretend that that's what I do. Well, I definitely do it in a couple of languages. I rather actually in a lot of languages nowadays.
I bet. So what was your first job in kind of the media and advertising industry then?
I would say my first job overall was in TV on Apprentice. I was one of the responsible for the candidates. But really, I would say advertising specifically started randomly as a role of PA for the owner and director of the digital agency startup in Russia. At the time, digital hardly existed there as an advertising, and we started with basically building websites and doing SEO and paid search. So I did everything from booking cleaners for him to actually running pre-sale presentations.
Wow. That must have given you quite kind of the bedrock of kind of knowledge on our industry then, kind of to have had that kind of early experiences.
Yeah, I think it was fascinating to be actually a part of building industry. That's why I love it, because I get never bored. Like, you can't get bored in our line of work. And I've started in digital, but then I grew my scope, and I think that's what I loved, always the breadth and of it. So moving from digital to all touch points, moving into then strategy and planning, then moving into transformation, change management, business, and then local, regional, global. It's incredible journey.
Yeah. And what do you think it is? Is it that drew you into the industry then, that keeps you in it, that kind of ever-changing kind of ability to move from
Absolutely.
role to role? And,
yeah. I get bored very quickly. So ability to learn is very important for me. And there is no day that I'll be bored in my work. Never.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same. I think I'd get bored. I love the advertising industry because it's forever changing. No day is the same. No month is the same. It definitely keeps me on my toes. So with that in mind, I guess, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe just starting their career in the media advertising industry?
Two things. Take all the chances. Like, you never know. Like, just say yes to things and something might play out incredibly, because if I didn't say yes to that PA role, which literally I did because I needed to finish university, I needed a job that is close enough to my uni, like, I would never end up finding my career. And second, believe in yourself. Like, don't doubt, because we're good enough.
Love that. Amazing advice. A two-part question. What keeps you awake at night? And then what gets you up in the morning and excited in the morning?
What keeps me awake at night right now probably is the shifts that are happening within DE&I specifically, and observing those tensions and those shifts across territories, countries, cultures, businesses, because I'm personally quite passionate about it, and started with specifically gender diversity, considering my background in Russia. But then obviously it grew into much bigger interest for me as I was working at Heineken UK, and maybe touch based on Heineken collective work. So that's, I think, right now is the topic that I'm kind of all over. Yeah. And I think I'm quite proud to work at Heineken, because for us, it's a big part of our agenda, and people are a huge part of our value. What keeps me going is passion for what I do, because, I think it was Confucius who said that do what you love and you never have to work even a day in your life. I still think obviously I work, but I'm so privileged to actually do what I truly love. Yeah,
I love that. It makes such a difference if you love what you do, and you're getting up every morning excited for what you're going to be doing that day. And we will definitely talk more about DE&I. I think we share a passion for it. We share a concern for kind of the current landscape and kind of how it's being politicized. So we will definitely dig into that a little bit later on. It's obviously a very complex industry, and you've had the ability to kind of see multiple roles and see multiple kind of ways of working. How would you describe what you do within media and advertising to a 10-year-old?
I have to describe what I do in media and advertising at Heineken, I think, specifically. And I would say that I think I help more people to get together more often, have some fun. Because that's what we do. We brew a joy through togetherness, and people are spending less and less time together. And that's what we do. And anything I do is about bringing people together to have some fun, good time over beer, or cider, or anything else that we do.
Yeah. I love that. That's so true. It's such, it's a brand that brings people together. It brings people joy. I love that. I think that's great. the final of our quickfire questions, and it's a personal favorite of mine, although I am slowly learning it may not be a personal favorite of everyone that I interview on the podcast. If there was a song that was a soundtrack to your life, what would it be?
I'll be honest, I had to ask ChatGPT because I was like, it. I got blank. I was like, what? So I had to go to ChatGPT and be like, what kind of information do you need from me in order to get to the track to describe my life? Yeah. And I landed actually on 2 tracks that I think would be perfect mix for me. Both of them are actually from Great Gatsby. Little Party, Never Kill Nobody. I love good fun. I love a good party. Techno raves also. And Young and Beautiful, because it's very lyrical, and I just have both sides and very fun, but I also very kind of cozy and calm, and I'm all in balance constantly. So those both sides played nicely together.
I love that. Both amazing choices. We have a playlist on Spotify, so we'll add them both to it so everyone can enjoy. And I love the use of AI. AI may again come up later in this conversation because it's clearly something we will touch on. And
we didn't last that long without going into AI.
I know. Yeah, 10 minutes in, we're already talking AI. So we're there, which is about right for a podcast in 2025. We'll dig into some of the more topic-related questions. And obviously, we're increasingly in a data-driven industry. Can you talk to me about the data that Heineken has today and what role data collaboration is playing in using that data and then accessing even more customer intelligence?
I think we'll probably start with the fact that, like everybody else, we've been on that journey for a very long time. And we've had variety of points when we've been prioritizing one or another type of data, one another targeting. But to sum it up, probably is that it's always learning. So we're constantly on a learning journey. We literally just had a meeting yesterday about the next step and what we know and what we don't know. As the businesses started to move towards first-party data agenda because of the cookie deprecation years ago, I think we all realized that everyone was on that hunt, but also we all realized we are not Amazon, we are not Netflix, we are not Asus. So we absolutely leverage first-party data. We are collecting, we've got this variety of initiatives in OpCos and globally, like Player 00, which is a beautiful way to actually gather the data but engage our consumers. But at the same time, we know that we're also penetration marketing business. So for us, it's about the right balance. So it's about learning about different types of data, your first, your second, your third-party data, and it's about orchestrating them based on the right stages of the consumer journey and the objectives of our campaign. I don't think it's a rocket science for anyone. Where I see the opportunities, though, is right now, first of all, growing second-party data hugely. And I think that's what the big area is, especially for a business like ours with retail, because we don't own point of sale. So retail data is huge opening. That's number one, understanding how the data then drives outcome, and how it drives outcome from both sales and brand impact standpoint. Second one is more of an opportunity with clean rooms to start blending the data to drive greater insights. And again, this is where AI plays in, with generative AI, with those new platforms that enable you to blend the data and then produce very quick insights. I think that's where the world is moving. Yes, it's incredible ability to get to know our consumers even better, faster. And that's, I think, where we'll be good to progress. But what I'm a big believer in is that there can be tons of data. However, if you're not cleaning it, storing it correctly, and then using it to genuinely produce qualitative insights, then you're not going to get anywhere. In reality, classic marketing is there. You should start with the consumer insight. The luxury we have nowadays is that we have more data points and better tools.
Yeah. And I love that idea of starting with the consumers, you said, and also it's what do we know, what do we don't know, and kind of using that to kind of inform the strategy. because then you're always going to be leading with the point of how is this going to improve the consumer experience? Because ultimately that's what it is, right? It's how do we either reach them? How do we improve their experience? How do we improve their experience with the Heineken brand? So I think it's super interesting. Obviously, from a Heineken perspective, consumers encounter your brand in so many different ways and places, right? Online, in store, in pub, social media, and beyond, all around kind of these bringing these people together for these experiences. Can you walk us through how you approach an integrated planning process to create consistent, impactful experiences across all those touch points, and why you feel it's critical we shift towards a more holistic through-the-line strategy right
now? I would say that last year, I've been so happy to hear more and more that we are going back to proper comms planning from doing media plans. That we are going into touchpoints planning. Like, it is a shift. Yeah, we are, I think in the last, God knows how many years, we've been fragmenting the landscape. We've been fragmenting the touch point. We've been fragmenting the way we operate to deliver on those, especially with the digital proliferation. So thinking about good old Mad Men times, should we say, and literally having your TV and out of home and the point of sale versus now getting it out there. So I recently then launched a good piece on thought leadership and algorithmic era for CPGs as well, and we've been a part of conversation about it. And in the time when I think there is more tech that gets us at risk of that further fragmentation, bringing it back to consumer and bringing it back to experience is key. In my point of view, moving from media, paid media, and being in this corner, this box, into the cross touchpoint orchestration is the key. Consistent experience, key. Because even if you look at the research, like Kantar research shows that exposure is 60%, but experience is 40% of impact on demand power. And that shows you the importance of why you should avoid ATL and BTL thinking, why you should avoid traditional and digital. I mean, every time I hear digital title, I'll be like, why we still have separate digital titles? Don't get me wrong, apologies that there's lots of companies where it does make sense. But if you think about people, they think about seeing Heineken on Tesco website, then Heineken on TV while watching, I don't know, Love Island, then on Instagram, and then in the pub on tap or at Tesco. But they see Heineken. They see our beautiful red star. They see our iconic design. They see our lovely packaging everywhere. That's what we want them to see. So that's our thinking, and we are moving more and more towards it. We are not perfect. I don't think anyone is perfect. Well, maybe there are some perfect people in the world, but I'm quite excited about the progress we've made and some of the examples of recent work, like our new Desperados campaign that we launched across 30 markets in Europe and beyond. And that's the campaign that it's our basically new platform, beer with a Latin vibe. It's rooted in a good consumer insight. It's rooted to cultural relevance because we know basically that Latin culture became more popular. The music culture from Latin America became more popular. We tapped into the opportunity and we actually shaped campaigns starting from that angle, from the culture, from the right talent. So we brought Latin Grammy winning artist Ovi on the drums and an artistic director. We brought Micro TDH, a rapper, to be a part of the collaboration. And we started with releasing a new track. And then we went into media. And then we went into experience. And of course, we had the right packaging in the shops by that point. And we had the right distribution at that point. And you can see that packaging beautifully integrated into video, into your Insta story, into your Snapchat lens, and into your shop floor. And it's the same packaging, the same beautiful bottles. And that's the thing where the magic happens. It's not really about the completely new campaign structures. I mean, YouTube is YouTube, yeah? It's about bringing all this together with the consistency that you've got and rooted into culture, or into like what's relevant for the brand. In our case, it was that cultural point.
Yeah, I think that's such an important shift, actually, is, to your point, if you think about it from a consumer perspective, a consumer's never thinking about whether they've had a digital experience. They're never thinking about if they've had a CTV versus a linear experience. They're just thinking about where they've seen the Heineken brand, right? So having that kind of shift in perception is super important. And another shift that obviously we're seeing, and an evolution we're seeing, and obviously with your experience coming from kind of the agency background, the relationship between agencies and clients seems to be evolving. And I've heard you say that you feel we need to move or shift from prioritizing productivity to prioritizing effectiveness. So how are you getting the most out of your agency partners at Heineken?
Again, I think it's back to basics. A lot in this world to me feels like balance between going back to basics and doing them perfectly right while leveraging the tech to maximize the opportunity. And when it comes to agency relationships, it's more the foundational element of it is deep partnership and understanding of our business and our brands. If we think about our agencies, both creative and media, they know our brands by heart. They live and breathe them, and sometimes think they're like even more passionate, like, and bigger guardians of our brands than even we can be sometimes. For them, it's their life and world, and people work for years on our business, which is an incredible honor, I think, for us. And that work truly makes a difference, and it's about building partnerships, building relationships. It's about motivating on an ongoing basis. And it's about, I think, being also culture fit and understanding each other. Yeah. It's never perfect, like any relationships. But then in those situations where things are not perfect, some great ideas are born. Yeah. And that's the work that creates recognition for us. Yeah, I mean, last year we won 22 Lions in Cannes.
Amazing.
And that's the work that drives, for Heineken brand only specifically, and that's the work that drives business. And we grew 9% as a business with Heineken brand specifically, and that's incredible. And the work we were doing, as an example, is rooted into our culture. For example, pub museums, the campaign that won Titanium Lion, and gazillions of awards, but it's rooted in the fact that we are valuing our consumers and our customers. So pub owners, bar owners, in the times of decreasing amount of time that people are going to the pub, so spend in outing, and increasing time that people spend on their own. Like in the last 10 years, people spend 30 minutes more on their own. Yeah. The amount of people who go out on their own increased by 30% recently. It's a lot of single occasions. So we need to help our customers to bring people in. And pub museums, incredible example of exactly that, but using technology. Because every pub in Ireland is a bloody museum. I mean, it has a history. It has a power in it. Yeah. And bringing people back to it is important. And that kind of connection between the business values, the brand values, and then our agencies understanding us drives the best work.
Yeah, it feels like there needs to be that really close collaboration. When I think about the agencies that we work with at InfoSum, the most successful agencies are the ones that feel like extensions of our internal teams. They feel like part of the internal team. Yeah. So for brands and even for agencies who might be listening to this, what advice would you give them to inform a better collaboration and ensure more integrated campaigns driving more meaningful outcomes?
Yeah. I think for the last 15 or 20 years, very honestly, not every client, but most of the clients wanted one thing, which is for agencies truly to work together. Because at some point, creative and media agencies separate their own P&Ls. As I mentioned, my agency background, and I very much well understand the P&L situations, and even when people are working in the same group. But especially when we are bringing talent from different groups. And this is the job of every client, is to bring the best talent. Yeah. We need to find the best companies, agencies, groups, etc., to deliver on our ambitions. So what we expect is collaboration. And that's the only thing we ask for. Just collaborate together and create those beautiful synergies between creativity and touchpoint orchestration. Because in reality, you need to understand consumer better to identify what are the right touch points to then bring those to life. But then you also need to understand consumer better to come up with that brand idea initially, that then fuels as well how you show up in those touch points. It's so interconnected that there is nothing else I would ask for. Just put your agency's titles, names aside and realize you work on one business, you deliver one objectives. Let's deliver great work and have some fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's something we push at InfoSum a lot, is this idea of collaboration over competition, and that actually collaboration drives much more meaningful results. And yes, we all have our kind of our lanes that we want to stick to and our ownership we want to have, but collaboration really will drive the industry forward.
Yeah. And I think that we have more and more examples of this. We had our offsite the other week and in Rotterdam. And as an inspiration, we invited Port of Rotterdam marketing team to join us. And they've been talking about the fact that how the only way for them to make their work better, for instance, literally being able to understand when the ships are coming in, because they didn't even have this data. They had to align like the data APIs, the structure with other ports, because no one has done it before. It's 21st century. Can you imagine? I could not believe that. But they would not be able to progress and make themselves more efficient, make more money for their own customers, for the other port customers. And I see the same analogy in sustainability area, in DE&I area, in measurement, retail media. We need to get together to create consistent guidelines, consistent measurement approaches, methodologies, standards. Like, if we don't do that, we just keep being disconnected and inefficient, and it's such a big loss, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking of efficiencies, and we already touched on it, and it wouldn't be a podcast, as I say, in 2025 without talking about AI. I'd love to hear how Heineken is approaching AI today and its kind of role in that creative decision-making process and the efficiencies around it.
Yeah. I'd say that my personal feel is that most of the businesses have been using AI to some extent already in media buying. You would hope so, because we've been leveraging platforms like Meta's, Google's, the Trade Desks of this world for years. And they had already elements of AI to enable you optimize your budgets, your placements, etc. So that's what's been happening. And we've been doing it as a BAU. We also, as a business, have been using AI heavily for our insight, specifically, and understanding of consumer, marketplace, category, etc. So that's definitely a part of day-to-day for everybody. I think the differences between having AI in particular areas, and actually I was yesterday at the session about AI as well, AI for CMOs and how to actually drive the culture. The big difference is that right now we are moving from having those isolated use cases into understanding how this is going to change the organization. Like, AI is not the change of one capability. AI is an organizational shift, which requires a whole set of elements to be set in place in order to drive that change. And change management is just a part of it. But you need to make sure that you have understanding of your processes, understanding of your operating models, your competencies that you need in the business, what are the future competencies, and what is this right blend of agents and humans. And not my phrase, but I'm going to steal it from one of the presenters yesterday, who actually struck me. he said, future marketers might be conductors of agentic marketing. And I might not 100% agree with it, but I think that will be a very important skill or part of capability for the future marketer, because it will be about, I think it will be about understanding what are the right agents and where they play the best role in driving the value and not just efficiency. And then where is that human element that we need to keep in, that comes in to actually balance it out? Because creativity will, with AI, we are at risk for creativity, specifically in creating sea of nothingness, because there's nothing new. You plug in something, you get in like a blend of the same things. So making sure we have that creativity from humans that then can be powering AI, or rather AI powers it to evolve it and optimize and scale and blah. I think that's where we are. And what I'm fascinated by is shifting indeed from those use cases into making AI part of day-to-day, and how we can motivate people and ourselves to do it. Very hard job, genuinely. Even like looking at me, I'm like, God. One of my team members is incredible with AI. She just loves it. I remember when Notebook LM was launched, she turned our quarterly results, business results, into a podcast next day. And she sent it to us, and we were like, wow. And how can we make sure those people, we have more of those people who are doing it? So I would love to do more of it. And then from technical standpoint, the other piece is probably the new, the multimodality of AI, like not having the imagery or text only, but actually bringing those variety of types of data points, like Notebook LM allows, for instance, here Gemini, and turn it into the outputs. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. And, I've heard it said a few times, AI today is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better. And to your point, whenever I'm speaking to marketers, the single piece of advice I give to them, especially if they're early in their career, is get to grips with AI. Understand its impact, understand what you can do with it, how it can help you, how it can make you more efficient, optimize your workflow, because it's only going to become more and more integrated with our day-to-day working as marketers.
Yeah.
Another topic I would love to dig into, and we've already touched on it, and it's something I know we are both incredibly passionate about, is DE&I. And I also know it's an incredibly big part of the culture and brand at Heineken. Can you share how DE&I principles have been integrated into Heineken campaigns and the impact it's had on the brand's global reach?
Yeah. So first of all, we do have part of our strategy is called Brew a Better World. So it is about our responsible marketing. And that includes, of course, diversity, equity, inclusion, sustainability, and also responsible consumption, or always a choice. So I think we cover it from various aspects. When it comes to our culture internally, we've got a variety of initiatives, including, I'll give you an example, including some of them to drive more female leadership. So we've reached our female leadership targets in senior leadership last year instead of this year. We put 30% target, so a year early, which is great. We also run a WIN program for basically encouraging female leaders on an annual basis. And it's an incredible way to build that pool of talent, female talent. And I was a part of that program 2 years ago. And we are also running a lot of work externally. Yes, leveraging our brands, of course. We do it through different angles because, again, it's about authenticity. Yeah, so we need to be honest about what we stand for and whether we have a right to say something or not. We're very lucky that, as you said, with a lot of our brands, we have the right to stand for things. And I'm sure Lee talked about strong work that we do with Pride. Again, makes me very proud because I saw the first year of that work happening, and so great to see it keep going. But indeed, we are leading with Heineken brands because inclusivity specifically is a part of it. So a Heineken brand, and well, our business is about, as we said, bringing people together. So
Yep.
joy, brewing joy through togetherness, we say. And for Heineken brand specifically, we've run already campaigns that are making sports, for instance, more inclusive. Yeah, so talking about cheers to all fan, men included, 12 women, supporting women's Euros. So that's part of work. Then when it comes to, I think, not necessarily, direct element maybe of diversity, but it's an important element of making better people's lives and different lives. The fact that Heineken stands for socializing, and refreshing your social life, and avoiding those barriers that stop you from having a good social life. And those barriers are different, and it depends on society that you are in, and we are tackling those as well. And we are doing it again to bring that inclusivity, to get people together, bring everyone together wherever you are, and we had campaigns tackling the overworking, the closure in the US, where again it's like, leave the work, get together, bring people together, be inclusive. We've done the same work in Europe and a few opcas, but tackling more like digital barriers, like with mobile phones. Book one of our campaigns, boring phone. Basically, we ask people to use an old phone, and all it does is just calls and send text messages, and even they are pretty rubbish. So no one wants to do it, because all we see when people get together, like, this is an environment where you get together to enjoy the moment. Everyone is standing and watching through the screen, and that's not the way. So, or rather, we would hope that you'll enjoy yourself better having done differently. Another example of local brand, which is interesting, is Kingfisher in India. Very masculine environment. I mean, like a lot of emerging markets, and beer, even in Europe and developed markets, is considered heavy male drink often. But we brought in Queenfisher, a beer variation of Kingfisher that was brewed by female, made by female, branded by female, for female. And I know it sounds a bit bizarre, because you almost like went opposite direction, but that what team wanted to do, show that it's not just about one side, like there is another side, and we need to consider both. And it was a very bold statement for the brand that is a big, well-established, basically the biggest brands. And they took a risk, and they went with it. And another example, which I have to bring in, because that's the one that also very, I think, emotional for our business, is about moderation, because we're also big believers that there is always a choice. Like, we can talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, talk about sustainability, but also the world is changing. People drink less, and it's okay. And I think we, as a company, being pioneers, I mean, this is, again, speaking about our DNA, pioneering, inventing, it's been always a DNA of Heineken. We were the first one to launch Heineken 00 beer in 2017. Category was dormant.
Right.
Now, we are the biggest brand in the world, Heineken 00. We grew 10% last year, and the category keeps growing. And what we are doing is, which is, again, our privilege, because we have investment and we have opportunity, we are working on that, or addressing rather that stigma, of moderation, stigma rather around drinking, because we launched a campaign called Zero Reasons Needed. He went live already in a few markets, and we're going to keep going live this year, because we truly believe you don't need a reason to drink 00. You don't need to be on a diet. You don't need to be a designated driver. It's okay. And I think that's, again, it shows how we can leverage our brands to help people to actually do what they want and enjoy it and don't feel bad about it. But also, of course, it drives business for us. And we're very happy that we can do both things. And it's good for the world and people, and it's good for our business.
Yeah, I agree. I love the pioneering work you guys have done in the kind of 00 space, and obviously leading that market. I talk about a little bit within our industry, within the media and advertising industry, I think a lot of the networking opportunities that happen with our industry tend to be happy hours, where there's this kind of assumption that you are going to come and you're going to drink.
Yeah.
And again, you shouldn't need an excuse not to drink, right? But there is still that stigma, which I think the way you put it was so right. And so being able to have those options are just so important, and it turns everything bringing people together. But if we talk specifically about networking, it gives people more options and it makes them feel welcome in those spaces, even if they're choosing for whatever reason, either to not drink or just because they would prefer to have a 0-0. So I think that's just so important.
Absolutely. And we have, right now, we have 245 zero alcohol variants of our products in the world. And we have Heineken 0.0 in 114 countries in the world. So it's there. And mostly, by the way, it's drunk by people who are drinking alcohol. It's because, indeed, as you said, I don't want to drink 5 drinks. I want to have 3. And another 2 I want to substitute because I want to have a longer occasion. Yeah. And it's okay.
Agreed. In addition to DE&I, I know that sustainability is obviously a massive, and you touched on it a couple of times, it's a growing priority it should be a growing priority for all brands, but let's say many brands right now.
Yeah.
How is Heineken working to embed sustainable practices into everything you do in its media efforts? And then how are you kind of measuring success on that?
Yeah, so again, this is a part of our Brew Better World agenda, and we have targets on carbon as well. So we're supposed to have, we are aiming for having a completely neutral chain across the whole business by 2040. Which is also punchy. You think about it, we're already in 25.
Yeah.
We've obviously have incredible progress when it comes to supply chain. And we've been doing work in marketing as well. So some of the work done in the UK and other opcos around packaging, like green grip, basically reducing the amount of packaging that we've got, moving from plastic to paper, which, by the way, often can be a damage when it comes to shop floor experience. So you think about consumers, they come into the shop and they have our product that is packaged sustainably with paper at the top, but you have cans, for instance. And then you see a competitive product that's fully covered in paper or plastic, which is nice, shiny, and beautiful. That's where you can see potential risks, at least in this stage, yeah?
Yeah.
Because people make decisions very quickly as they're on the shop floor. On the other hand, there is studies that do show that people are ready to pay more for more sustainable products. It's just we need to, we need to keep educating consumers, I think all of us, like the government, the companies, on sustainability challenges, on what is good or not, because a lot of people would love to, but not that many people have knowledge beyond recycling, and even recycling is quite limited. Like, okay, how can I be sustainable? What sustainability means? What should I be looking for when it comes to experiencing the brand, the packaging, of it, or whether it's coming from the resources, etc. So there is a bit of that element of you need to invest right now in sustainability anyway. It might potentially lead to risks, but that's what it's important to measure. Therefore, the approach I think we've been having, it's very much test and learn. We have opcos or markets where there is much stronger marketing and media agenda for sustainability because they have priorities, capacity, ability, technology in place. Some of these opcos are France, for example, and UK. And when it comes to sustainability in media, they are very much lighthouses for us. And they've been running a variety of tests, like UK, for instance, ran the first 100% carbon neutral digital campaign for Inches. Inches Cider is rooted in sustainability, so we were the first one to do it. Yeah. In France, we consistently work with Scope 3, and we basically work across our agencies in order to plan sustainably. So we integrate sustainability throughout the process. Been doing it for and evolving for the last 2 years. And the initial test we see during sustainability is, again, in media, you have risks of increasing costs of your media, which means decreasing your effectiveness. However, the long-term work that France has done starts showing that actually, as you optimize your planning, again, you have more data, you start becoming more effective, in fact. So that's where we are. We are very much in a test and learn approach, and we see really good positive signs. And now we're turning those local initiatives into global agenda. And the priority for us is we're also learning from other brands like MasterCard, for instance, is to set the baseline, because right now, luckily, we already have more established KPI framework and measurement for sustainability in the industry. So we'd like to use that to help us to establish our benchmarks in order to start measuring the impact better while we keep testing.
Yeah.
And then finally, start educating our talent on basics on sustainability, both media and creative. But that's, again, right now we are moving from local test to global test and learn, so then we can come up with a more consistent framework. A bit of what I've done with the Lee and team of Heineken Collective in the UK, but at a bigger scale.
Yeah, I love that. Look, it's so important, right? Sustainability, DE&I, it's so important to have brands like Heineken who are leading the way, who are kind of being innovators, who are standing by those principles. And I can tell from kind of the way you talk about it, it's clearly such a massive part of the Heineken culture internally, and then that comes out externally. So it's just amazing to hear a brand that's being so committed to it. And it's been amazing to learn more about Heineken, more about kind of how you're viewing the industry evolution. And obviously that's what this podcast is all about. It's about individuals like you who are pioneering those new ways to use data to deliver those integrated consumer experiences that we've touched on. So when you look to people that you admire within the industry, who would you nominate for me to interview on an upcoming episode?
One of my favorite people in the industry, we're quite close to, is Ali Keith from Kraft Heinz. I've met Ali here in Amsterdam. She's got a great experience in Coty and in now Kraft, and previously also agencies. And she's got that incredible gravitas, I think, and the ability to balance fundamentals and kind of future thinking. So I think should be a great one. And also she's a good fun. So always brilliant.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we will definitely try and get her on the podcast. I think that'd be an amazing conversation. Look, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for sharing all of what you are all working on. Thanks for your kind of passion and your explanations around DE&I and sustainability. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I just really appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Lee, as well, for nominating me. Very kind.
Thanks again to Olya for being on the podcast. Recording that, I really got a sense for her passion for not only delivering great media experiences as Heineken, but the incredible culture at Heineken and their amazing DE&I activities. All that's left for me to do is to remind you to hit that subscribe button to know when the next episode of Identity Architects lands. But until then, thanks for listening.